Yeah, that's correct.
It's actually additional, because last year, it was this, we used to pay, the bid board used to pay $10,000 to marketing, or $16,500, and then when they were doing the bike races, it was $10,000 per contribution, and when they gave the bike races away, they had to pay $16,500. So now they're getting back down to the 10, and now they're getting an extra $2,500. So I just want to clarify, it is extra, and I had the same question of maybe we need to put that into the resolution or motion to say, and we'll transfer that $2,500.
And the cost of the race,
The algorithm.
the cost of the race day is, if I remember correctly, it's less than 10,000 to purchase it from,
12,000.
no,
This year.
this year it's gone up to 12?
Yeah, it got raised.
Okay.
Do we need to put that in the motion for?
Is it minimum?
Yes.
I checked with Mark, it said that it didn't need to be included.
I would just add that, like, we've made a lot of changes in the last 2 years on this bike race, and as well, kind of the way we, as an enterprise, by that I mean the village, with everyone handles marketing and PR. It's unfortunate because we are here on March 20th approving, about to approve hopefully this move on the bike race. And I say it's unfortunate that we're doing it today because there's really not enough time for the group to do the sort of fundraising and sponsorship work that we really want them to do. So we're going to, I think, I'm only, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is one of the unintended consequences of all this machinations and changes and delaying of decisions is really going to be unfortunate by way of the trouble getting sponsorships, and that hasn't gone unnoticed by the bid board.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
I assume there's no nays. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is discussion and consideration of the request for additional in-person absentee voting hours. Since the request came from you, trustee Metcalf, I'll let you present this one.
Well, in the fall election, we had a discussion and decided to extend in-person voting hours. I forget exactly what we did, but we had at least a couple of evenings that we were open to allow people to go to early voting. I also will remind, well, I recall the meeting when we discussed the hours that Village Hall was going to be open when it was decided to go to a half-hour lunch and close at 4:30. And I recall asking, having discussions at that time that when there was an election or something particular, there were special things that we needed some flexibility back from the staff, that there was kind of an understanding that that flexibility would go both ways. Apparently, there was the response is that, you know, we really can't do it. And I think it's regrettable, and I think that I wish that I had thought about this a little bit sooner. I think this is, you know, as a board, we can sometimes be criticized for getting too into the weeds and too into the details, and that our role should really be policy. We discussed policy about extending voting hours and making early voting as easy and as attractive as possible to the public. So we had that policy discussion in the fall. You know, we were essentially not given the opportunity to have that policy for this election, and I would just like to see for future elections that we have an opportunity to make policy, which is what I think our role is.
Thank you.
I would just make a motion for the next, for that prior to each spring and fall election, that we have an opportunity to discuss at such a point in time with sufficient lead time that we are able to have a policy discussion about voting hours. I think that's well within our purview as a board, and it's really right.
It is interesting to notice that, you know, when you look at, for the April election, when you look at the number of other communities that were checked, that none of them have extended hours except Fox Point on 2 weeks before the election does one evening. And I think that there is a difference between, you know, the presidential election and local election.
We extended the presidential election, if memory serves, for a variety of reasons, because we expected high voter turnout.
And there was a lot of other communities that were doing that.
Right.
Who was doing that.
And the laws had changed, so this allowed us to extend what's it called, in-person absentee voting. We also did, as a board, for a whole week, if I'm not mistaken, have the polls open, or village hall until 4 days. It was Tuesdays and Friday, or once until 7 p.m. And I'm sure many of you are aware, considering you're all elected in the spring, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't extend the hours, but
No.
it is a much different
We can
turnout
still
for
have the
spring
discussion.
election. But yeah, it's a great discussion, and I do think that, you know, having at least 1 or 2 days in a spring election at night to allow people, or
After
to
work.
have increased publicity on how you can vote
Yeah.
absentee, whether it be in person or by ballot in the mail.
Do we have a policy about election? Because you make a good point, President Johnson and Trustee Rockers, of there's differences in presidential versus local, you know, like, we seem to have a view about that. And do we have something that states, like, I know last year, from my experience, last year, we extended for presidential. Are we going to do that for every presidential election? No, I'm saying, if maybe that's what we really need to talk about is, what do we want to offer to the residents in terms of voting? Because we should be consistent, not based on who's running in the election, being for president or for, if we think that presidential elections are important, and
It's not that they're more important, it's that the voter turnout is 4 times
Yeah,
of what
whatever
the
the
spring
reason-
elections
yeah.
are. So if we want to have long lines and turn people away at the poll, we had a nice discussion on this, and we don't want people to wait over an hour in line for a president to cast a ballot. I wouldn't want that for any election. I mean, I think we all even discussed at budget time, I proposed that you would look into seeing if we needed additional poll workers in the future, because that's a discussion we haven't had. We haven't increased the wages for the poll workers by like a quarter or something back in 2013 or 2014, but anyway, I agree with you. We should look at ways to increase voter turnout regardless of if it's spring or fall election. If that's what
Maybe
you're
this is
saying.
an item for future agenda, maybe discussing our policy regarding extended hours for voting. To me, a spring election or fall election doesn't make a difference. I mean, my husband works out of Waukesha, he has to be there at 8, he doesn't get home till 6. I mean, he's in a flexible enough job that he can go into work late and come in and early vote because we're going to be gone. But I mean, not everybody has that opportunity. I think we have the ability to extend the opportunity to vote to as many people as we can, and we should be doing it. It doesn't matter to me if it's fall or spring.
We do also have the opportunity to heavily promote the mail ballots as well for those who cannot get off of work early to come and vote in person, early absentee voting, which is a little bit more onerous. But so I think that I agree. I think we're all saying the same thing. We want to encourage voter turnout. I think the difference here is if I think it would be remiss to offer the exact same hours for the fall high turnout presidential election. I'm not talking as we would for a low voter turnout spring election, because without input from staff at the very minimum of how many people voted from the hours of 4:30 till 8 o'clock or however late I forget.
Yeah, and I think it's worth that discussion.
I
So
think this is a
and
valid,
you're
greatest
consistent.
discussion,
And then
it's the
you're-
JPNL discussion to begin with.
Right, and you're just,
It is, this is a
Yeah, I think
We'll
definitely.
hear from the village clerk now.
One thing I do want to make clear is that the reason why we now have this opportunity is because of the federal court decision, and there are still appeals out there. So there's a possibility that it could be changed again, that we will not have the opportunity. So before we go too far down that road, we may want to see where the appeals are at. Just to say, you know, that doesn't apply for this April election, but for future ones, potentially could be changed.
But I would like the opportunity a little earlier, when
Right.
it is still available. Maybe a night, but there are people that work or got 2 jobs,
Yeah.
and it sure would be nice if they had a couple nights and go. I think when people could adjust their with enough planning, a couple hours, it just allows people to work janitor jobs and stuff to get here and go. Not everybody has flexible schedules.
No, exactly. Or we make it really easy as a village to communicate to residents the other opportunities as well, or do in tandem. We are both, as part of our, how about this, part of our recycling education program that many of you voted for in lieu of weekly recycling? We could do a voter education program which alerts people to your options for early in-person or by mail absentee voting.
Okay.
Not snarky enough.
We've got that down for the future.
Well, I think there was an actual formal motion.
There was never a second.
Oh, there was a second. Oh.
We can put it on item for future consideration.
Yeah, no, we made a motion. And prior to each fall and spring election, the board had the opportunity to discuss the policy for, I didn't get the entire language.
I think it stopped or something.
And there was never a second, so.
Oh, we already have that.
We can just put it, can't we just
Yeah,
put
we'll
it
just
on,
have the
just
opportunity.
put it on item for future agenda, so we discuss it as a policy.
And we'll reinforce it when we get to item 11.
Remember to vote, everyone. We haven't already done so.
Okay, reports from village officials, I have none.
I have a couple of reports. First off, there's so much great news in this village and in the school district that I'm not going to mention everything, but I will say the seed auction was this last week. They sold out yet again, raising a lot of money for our school district. At the seed auction, the jazz band, the intermediate and the high school jazz band, intermediate played at the reception, then the orchestra played during dinner, and then the high school jazz band after. So that's a great opportunity to showcase our district in many ways to many different people. Solo and ensemble, there were many participants who attended this festival and will be advancing to state. Mock trial, congratulations Nathan. Yet again, we have state champions.
No, we did not.
Oh, we didn't win this time? Oh, but we went to
Oh.
state yet again. So I don't know if you guys all remember that our own village attorney is one of the volunteer mock trial coaches at the high school. And then the Tommy Awards for the musical Sweeney Todd. Our school district has been nominated for 23 different Tommy Awards. This is a statewide competition. This is a very big deal.
It even beats out Hamilton.
Which I'll say on April 1st for the second time, but anyway. And our engineering or robotics club, which is I think in its second year, also is performing at the state level. And again, so much more. So that's school related, but it's village related as well. And I'm very proud of our school district and of all of the individuals that have participated, have children and other ties to that. Secondly, what is this, reports? I will be in New York City starting this Friday through Wednesday. This is also going to be an item of future, whatever. Thank you, it's after 10. Ann and I had an over-under bet where we get out of here by 10:30, so I'm trying to limit, but I won't tell you which side I'm on.
I can tell you.
Anyway, Sanctuary, I'm going to a convening in New York City where I'll be collaborating with legislators from across the United States regarding sanctuary city policies and whether or not this, if we can and how we can bring this to our village. And there are a lot of states that are preempting this decision. Wisconsin, fortunately, isn't yet one of those states, but I can't imagine that wouldn't be in the future. But until then, if we're stronger in numbers, if we do pass policy declaring Shorewood as a sanctuary city. So again, I will come back with a lot more information. I have a lot of local ties to that as well, and this is something that Trustee McKay has also, I mean, she can speak to this individually if she wants on her involvement, which is on that. And then, oh, and by the way, my trip to New York City is at zero cost to the Shorewood taxpayers, so I just want to make sure I mention that. And I will go with that.
Any other reports from village officials?
I had a meeting with the chief and a resident who had basically a complaint about some racial issues. And we had a very productive meeting, and we are hoping that she and her neighbor will take advantage of our free mediation services. And we also encourage this resident to file a police report so there's some documentation of what she felt that the neighbor was unpleasant towards her. So we had a productive meeting, and I'm hopeful that there'll be movement towards some resolution.
Somewhat related,